Hey guys, what's up? Hope everything is good. And today we're going to take a look at my list of the top 6 best ever Counter-Strike players in relation to the competition. Now, what that means is that although this list is a top players list, it's not actually the best players list. It is the players who were a cut above the competition. So a player who was so good at the time that nobody else came close. So that does mean that some sick players will miss out because although they are great and were probably #1 in the world for some time, there were so many players who were as good as them or very close to their level at least in terms of skill. So they don't quite make this list. But let's kick things off with number 6.
Ni hao.
To come out from jungle, watch it, because he's got the lineup simple. He doesn't have the time. He's got to go to the AK and get the kill. This guy is on another level. He's going to have time to put the bomb down.
So at number 6, we have Simple. There's not too much that I need to say about this guy. He is an absolutely quality player. In a lot of people's opinions, pros and otherwise, he has been the best CSGO player for some time now, which is why he's on this list, despite not having won a major tournament. But because everyone thinks he's so good and he's everyone's #1 pick for so long, it's a simple fact that he has to be in this list. If he had won some things, he would probably be higher than number 6. But as it goes, we have Simple here at number 6.
Go on, maybe.
Oh, he's jungle. Close jungle. Close, bro. Close in con.
Smokes. You see double smokes in the same place there. Simple just jumping casually into the side. He's going to fall down and get on the right. What is this clutch from Simple? Are you serious? What is that? You can't do that, Simple. That's not allowed. This is not FPL. This is a major.
But Simple, I don't know, man. If he just comes in with that, there's nothing
That
that
was a
can be
no-scope.
done.
It was a no-scope.
So at number 5, I have cheated a little bit and gone with 2 players, HeatoN and Potti. And the reason I've gone with 2 players is because I wanted to cover the time period of when SK was so good between 2001 and 2003. Now, in 2001, HeatoN probably stood apart a little bit from everyone else, but he did also have X3, the North American team with players like K Sharp, who also competed with them. But HeatoN at that point was really, really good. But then SK really came into their own in 2002 and especially 2003, which is when Potti was just on a different level and was the best player at that time. So 2 players here, HeatoN and Potti. I couldn't pick between them, so we have both here. One little further comment, this next clip that you'll see in a second from Potti on DE Nuke is my favourite ace in CS of all time. However, I can't find a demo anywhere, so I am stealing this clip from a frag movie, but just look how good this ace is by Potti. Now in 4th place we have Zet from 2005 until 2006. Now Zet was my favourite player of all time in CS and still is my favourite player of all time in CS. He was just crazy, and the reason that he is so noticeable is that he came in at a time when CS was already established. We already have the big competitions going on at this stage and we already have some really world class players competing. But Zet came in and brought it to another level. His movement was insane, something that wouldn't have been matched by anyone until around a couple of years later with Forest and Neo. His spray control was fantastic and his confidence was brilliant. You can see, for example, on these next few clips, just his map knowledge was also insane. No matter what map he played, whether it was nuke, train, whatever, he knew every single tip and trick. He knew all the warbangs, and just watching him back then in pretty much every single game he played, it was clear that he was just on a different level, even though he was playing against the best teams in the world. So in third place we have Forest. Now to be honest, you could pick second and third place from this list and switch them around and it wouldn't make too much difference because these next two players were just so good and widely regarded as the best players in CS 1.6 of all time. But Forest at this stage of his career was just on a different level. Now you can actually watch a POV demo of Forest without knowing who you were watching at first, and within a couple of rounds it'd be quite obvious that you're watching Forest because his playstyle was so unique, so aggressive and just so fluid. He was so calm and just looked like he was making it easy and always in control. So for example, this round just looked like I got a couple of kills, dropped down to CT spawn and just look at that recoil control. But at this stage of his career he was just dominating in every single server and also bringing the tournaments home to SK and Fnatic. Now in second place we have the Polish powerhouse Neo. Now like I said before, the choice between Forest and Neo was so difficult and they are kind of interchangeable in their positions on this list, but overall the reason I went for Neo is that I just felt that he was a little bit better for a little bit longer than Forest, and you have to remember that this list is of the players who were a cut above everyone else. Now you might wonder how I can have Neo and Forest on the same list because they did play in the same period, but the reason I went for them both is because I think Forest was a little bit better than Neo in around 2006 for a while, and then Neo became a little bit better than Forest later on, although it was extremely close. But these two players together were cut above everyone else and I couldn't really leave them out of this list. But just like Forest, Neo had a very unique playstyle, his movement was insane, and if you saw him spraying, he wasn't spraying because he was panicking, he was spraying because it was right to do in that situation. But just look at this next clip on Train and look how good his awareness and movement is. So before we get into the number one pick for this list, I was going to have a full honourable mentions list. However, I quickly realised that that list would be too big because there's just too many players I could mention. So I'm going to keep it down to 3 players. But also before we get to number one, please do keep in mind that this list is for players who were a significantly large cut above the rest for a significant period of time. So for example, Device on the screen now was in my opinion number one for a while, but it wasn't over a massive period of time because in CSGO it has chopped and changed quite a bit, so do keep that in mind.
And stuck on this side. Device, who's had a really rough game, flashed, he's gonna get that shot, and that has to feel a little bit going out middle of the air to take down Alex, and now they're pushing. Oh, you've got to be kidding me! He takes every single one from nothing to the AWP-Ace.
That side to go pick up the bomb, down to a 4-on-2 situation. Bomb planted inside that CT spawn bomb site. Wally on to Fisker. All left up to one member of SK. He's got that in 4. Does he not see him? Does he? He's allowing them not to know that he's there. As it is, he's gonna go. We're gonna look for an interview. Spawn plays it smart. He's gonna be able to sneak right in there. He's working his way in there. Here comes the defuse. He's gonna get it. He's waiting for it. He's getting shot. Oh no!
So there you have it, my number one pick for this list is GeT_RiGhT, a legendary player who was fantastic in both 1.6 and CSGO. But the period we are focusing on for this number one pick is the start of CSGO, the very start of CSGO in fact. The Ninjas in Pyjamas team that was announced in the betas before CSGO even was released, that contained GeT_RiGhT and Forest. Now, you might say that they dominated the scene so much because there was no real competition because players hadn't yet switched across to CSGO. And yes, while that is true, this list is focused on the players who were a cut above everyone else at the time. And Ninjas in Pyjamas then went 87-0 in map wins, something that had never been done before or since. And looking at the individual players that made up those map wins, for me, GetRight is definitely the standout player. He really showed how CSGO could be played. He had immaculate spray control and was just on a different level compared to everyone else for quite a while. Yes, some people on his team came close, but in terms of competition on other teams, he was definitely a cut above.
Oh, Markelov going to town here. He got Flaren, and he's... The only problem is he has no idea where GetRight is.
Nobody ever does, but you know, if you don't know, you should look behind you.
Yeah.
Here's GetRight. How did he spray like that? He's far away. It's not possible. He's gonna get it, pick up the rifle, and defuse the bomb. Markelov didn't know, and you know, knowing is half the battle. It's going to be NIP winning yet another one, and it's going to be 3-5 here. Very, very important round, of course, here for NIP.
That was NIP being overly aggressive in middle for really no reason. But
GetRight
is going to get 4 kills.
Can he be able to make it 5? Is he going for the ace? RPK caused some damage, and he will not pick up the ace. The kill streak has ended, but Freiburg finishing things up.
One up. Assistant.
No ramp.
Assistant.
Var ligger bomb? Långa.
So that is the end of my list. Please do consider giving me a like and subscribe if you have enjoyed it. Also, I want to point out that I was going to put Shox in here from CS Source. However, I've never played Source properly competitively and I'm in no way an expert in Source. And in doing research, I always saw a lot of arguments between people about who was the best Source player. So it seemed quite clear to me that maybe nobody stood out as an individual top far and away best player in Counter-Strike Source, although Shox was definitely nearly there, so you can see some clips on the screen now from Shox in CS Source. But with that said, guys, I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Do let me know in the comments who you would change in my list, it'd be very interesting to read, and yeah, thanks for watching.
Last round of the first half, Shox will be the one to watch rushing into this A-bomb site together with the team. They're taking the first one out, flashed, going now into the ruins. One frag onto Nook, will be taken out of the second one. Headshot onto Weber, will now be looking to hold that bomb down. The headshot comes in from Shox onto Steel, now moves onto CT Spawn to catch returning CTs. Oh, another headshot from Shox. This is absolutely sensational from him. One bullet's the last one, and there it is.